Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next Power Hour. Hope everybody can hear me okay. But hello, and so I just want to apologize for last weekend. Had some things come up at the last minute, and had to do some adulty stuff. And so I always hate to cancel Power Hours unless I'm really sick or unless something's going on. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? So welcome, everybody. I saw many of you in the chat, very lively comments this morning. So I think we're going to have a pretty packed house today. So who is in the house? First off, let's see, Brixhaven. Adjust my overlays here. All right, Brixhaven's drinking coffee. Very, very good. And yay, morning, lovely people. Good morning. Rachel T, you asked such a great question. It's almost as if I planted it. Is anyone doing Nanowrimo this year? Well, please let Rachel T know and let me know, because I got something that you guys might enjoy for Nanowrimo. All right? Okay, Yay is doing Nanowrimo. Very, very cool. Jocelyn Carter, hello, Power Hour regular. Working on my work in progress today. All right. And Shay with the hobbies. All right. Hello, welcome, Shay. And let's see, who else is here today? I can't get to everyone's comments. But Bonnie being Bonnie, hello, good morning. And Lolo Baker, good morning. And Aaron Riley says, working on first draft and doing some NaNoWriMo prep. All right, that is perfect. And wow, we got a lot of comments in the beginning. I went away to get some orange juice. That's what I'm drinking today. And I come back down and it's like super comments. So it is all good. All right, everybody's working on some great stuff. I saw one drink here that I have to call out because it sounds absolutely delightful. And that is Ruth drinking a freshly squeezed turmeric, carrot, and lemon juice smoothie. It's more delicious than it sounds. That sounds delicious. So I love turmeric. Turmeric is one of my favorite teas. So that sounds awesome. All right. Oh, we got a new person here. So everybody say hello to Becky. It's my first Power Hour, and I'm excited. Happy writing. Well, welcome, Becky. I'll explain the rules here, or not rules, but kind of what we're doing here in a few minutes, since I know we have a new person. All right. So, okay. All right, man. Everybody's fired up today. I'm fired up too. All right. So, Louisa. Hello. Louisa's finally back. All right. Well, welcome back, Louisa. And wow. Okay. All right. Well, awesome. So before I get into the stuff, I just want to say real quick, two things that I think all of you are going to be interested in. The first thing is that my book on writing into the dark / writing without an outline, I published it last night. So it is finally available. I was hoping that it would be available for purchase by the time the Power Hour started. It's not, so womp. But it's called The Pocket Guide to Pantsing. I'll grab the image of it, but before the next break, I'll throw it up on the screen so that you guys can check it out. It might be on Amazon right now if you search for it. The Pocket Guide to Pantsing, how to write a novel without an outline. But again, I just didn't have time to put the cover image up, but I'll let you guys know once that comes out. So I will also send out an email to the email list if you're on the fan club sometime this week with an official link once it's been populated on Google and Apple and Kobo and every other place on the internet. But I know you guys are excited for this one. I mean, every Power Hour, you guys are always asking me about writing without an outline questions. So there's an ultimate guide to looping in this book. There's an ultimate guide to doing an outline as you go. I pretty much go through the very beginning of how you do it. I talk about different places in the novel where you might get stuck. I'm really excited about it, and I think it'll be helpful for many of you who want to write into the dark. All right, so that is the first thing. The second thing I want to let you all know about, and Rachel T kind of let the cat out of the bagel, so to speak, and that is that I am taking part in a NaNoWriMo bundle. So some of you just said that you were doing NaNoWriMo. If you've ever heard of Story Bundle is an awesome service where it takes a bunch of books and it bundles them all into one package, and you can pay what you want. So you can pay $5, you can pay $25. If you are so moved, you can pay more than that. But the authors then get a nice split of the royalties. and I'm honored to be in a story bundle this year for NaNoWriMo. So if you want to write a novel in a month, there's 16 books in this collection that will help you do just that. And you can get it at authorlevelup.com/, nano bundle. And I realized I didn't activate that link. I probably need to do that, don't I? Terrible marketing, Michael. Terrible marketing. So if you go there right now, you're going to get a 404 error, but I will promptly and expeditiously rectify that here in a minute. I had a million things to do this morning. All right. But there's a lot of really good books in this bundle. So, for example, I'm now reading The Relaxed Author by Joanna Penn and Mark Leslie Lefebvre. The two of them need no introduction. I'm listening to the audiobook, and it's absolutely fantastic. So if you want to learn how to become a more relaxed author, that is a great way to do it. There's a book in here by my friend Monica Leonel, and she talks about how to prep for NaNoWriMo. So there's an entire book in there on how to prep for NaNoWriMo. And if you're going to do it, good time to do it is in October. And then there's Craig Martell has a book in there. Craig is the founder and the forum moderator in chief of 20 books. Craig has many titles, but he's got a book in here. There's another book in here also on writing anthropomorphic characters, which is right up my alley. So anyway, I guess to let you all know that this is available. Give me like 2 minutes. Once we start our first sprint, I will make the link active, and you can go off and grab it. And yeah, so I'm excited to be in this bundle. So really, really good stuff. And just a quick reminder, I'll just get this out of the way as well. For anyone who wants to buy any of my books from me directly, feel free to do that at authorlevelup.com/books. Just use the code POWERHOUR. It's just a standing thing for those of you who are new. If you want to buy any of my books, you get a discount. All right. So got some great comments here. Okay, so let's see. I'll just read through some of the comments here, and then we'll talk about the rules, because I see we have another newbie, Brendan Phillips. All right, so we're going to talk about the guidelines of the Power Hour, and talk about the stuff that you all know here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I've got a timer on the screen now, and once that timer, I've got to pause it. Once that timer starts counting down, I'm gonna turn off my microphone. I'm gonna go on mute, and I'm gonna start writing. And I invite you to do the same thing. And when the timer goes down to 0, I will come back, and then I will answer any questions you have, and I will invite you to let me know how many words you wrote. All right. And so when I'm on mute, when the timer's going, I'm going to be dictating my book today, because I want to get a really good word count today. So all my regulars, you know the drill. There's going to be somebody that comes in and says, "What is he doing? I can't hear him." Just help a brother out. Let him know I'm dictating. And at some point, I'll figure out a fix. Figure out a fix to this here. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to run the timer, and then I'm going to go fix that link real quick, and then we'll get started. All right. So 20 minutes. It is 10:08 right now. So let's jump into it, and then we'll answer some questions and have some fun. All right. So happy writing, everybody, and let's get to it. All right, everybody, about a 2-minute warning. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. All right, everybody. Let me know how everybody did here. What was your word count? And then let me know how you're feeling. All right. So we had 20 minutes of writing. I want to know how you've felt and how things are going for you. So I forgot to share what I was working on. I'm working on book 3 of my Good Necromancer series. It's called Spirit Chaser. And yeah, I am about 27,000 words into the book. And so I'm trying to get this book done very quickly because Beast Mode is almost over. And I need to finish it by October 15th. That's my deadline. I think I'll be done well before that. But my writing session was about 450 words, but I had to do some looping in the middle of it. So yeah, so I didn't get the full benefit of the 20 minutes, but I'm about 900 words for the day. All right, 900 words for the day. So let me know what your word count is. And then, as always, just as a reminder, for those of you who have any questions, let me know what your questions are in the comments. Anything writing related, be happy to answer that while we kind of debrief here. All right. Oh, and I forgot to let you all know that the link to the NaNoWrimo story bundle, authorlevelup.com/nano bundle, is now live. So if you click on that link, it should take you to the story bundle. All right. So just wanted to let everybody know that. And let's look at some of the comments here. All right. Brendan says, this is the first Saturday I'm not working. I'm always watching this as a recorded video. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here, my friend. All right. Rachel T asks, what would you value the set at? You know, that's a very good question, Rachel. I haven't added up all of the book prices to figure out what that bundle would be. That's the great thing about Story Bundle is that you can pay what you want. So you can pay what you can afford. You know, if it's basically there's a tiering factor. So I think the minimum you can pay is $5, and you get you get like 5 of the books for $5. But if you pay I think a minimum of $20, then you unlock all of the books in the bundle, and then you can get as many as you want. Now, if you want to pay more than that, certainly me, myself, and or me, myself, like it's two people, myself and the other authors in the bundle won't be upset. But pay what you can afford. All right. So, okay. Mike says he got the bundle yesterday. Well, thank you, Mike. Hope you're enjoying it. All right. So let's see here. Let's see if the counts are starting to come in here. Okay. He's having a technical issue here. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Everybody hear me okay? Just want to make sure. All right, everybody. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me because I feel like I'm not seeing any comments, and so I don't even know if I'm live. So if you can hear this, please let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please let me know. If you can hear me, let me know. Okay. Okay. Everybody can hear me. I just want to make sure because I was like, what is going on here? All right. So um, I didn't. The reason I asked is because I didn't see anybody put their word counts um, on this in the comments. All right. So if you can hear me, let me Okay, everybody, there are some really, really weird things going on with YouTube right now. I'm not sure what it is. I've got some construction in my backyard, and then I think YouTube is really weird. So I don't know if all of you can hear me in real time. I think the lag is gone, or for the most part. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the timer, and I'm going to come back in about 2 minutes. All right, and then we'll just hope for the best at that point. All right. 2 minutes and we'll get started. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm not sure what's going on with YouTube. Um, yeah, some of you, that's the weird thing is, I don't know where some of you are because there's some people who are like super behind on the stream, and then there's other people that are in real time, and then there's other people who are like 2 minutes behind. So I don't know when everybody is hearing this, and we may have to cut this power hour just a little bit short because it's kind of weird and killing the engagement. But I do want to make sure that I answer everyone's questions, and I'm going to talk long enough that hopefully all of you will catch up and hear me by the time this timer is over, and then we can maybe jump to our final session here. Okay. So we did have some questions that came in um, in the meantime. So I'm going to answer some of those, and hopefully some folks can kind of catch up and hear what I just said. All right. So Aaron Riley asks, how do you pace an opening where the whole arc of the antagonist and protagonist is established? Um, that is an interesting question, Aaron. I would say, it's pretty hard to establish the entire arc in an opening. But what I would do is I would take a look at the best-selling self-published books or even mega bestsellers in the genre that you're writing in and look at their openings and see what they're doing. And more importantly, if you can find a book that is very similar to your book in terms of how the characters are introduced, then that would be a really good way to go about that. That would, I think, help you find a way to open up the novel suitably. But as far as pacing goes, my best advice is that with most books, if it's a standalone book, then it probably doesn't matter. But if it's a series book, like a book one in a series, usually you want to establish the character in the reader's head. So a lot of people, what they do is they will start in the middle of things, like in media res. But if you look at the works of mega bestsellers, they actually don't do that. Very seldom do they do that. In fact, what they often do was they will establish the scene and the setting and the character, and they'll do that for about 400 to 500 words, and then the story starts. So that's probably how you want to be thinking about it. But again, just look at what the practitioners in your genre are doing, and I think that will help be your guiding light. All right. Okay, Lolo asks, do you have any tips on dictation when you're doing fantasy names that aren't words in the real world? I'm so glad you asked that, Lolo. My next book is going to be a book on dictation, which I just sent off to my cover designer yesterday. So that's going to be published here probably at the beginning of the week. Um, and I talk about this in that book. But essentially, what I would do is I'm assuming, I'm going to go out on a limb, hopefully I'm right on this, that you're using Dragon to dictate your book. And if that's true, then what you want to make sure you do is you want to teach Dragon all of your fantasy names. So what I would do is I would put all your main characters and all of your settings and city names and special items and objects and all that into a text file or a Word doc, and then in Dragon open the accuracy center and then teach the words to Dragon. All right. So that way, when you say it, Dragon will more than likely get it right. All right. And that doesn't always work with some crazy fantasy names. So what you might do instead, and it's actually what I've been doing today, I have a character. The name is called Not Call. It's like Natkaal. Dragon cannot recognize that name. So what I do instead is I just say Natalie. All right. So I say instead of Not Call said, I say Natalie said, blah blah blah. Natalie did this, blah blah blah. Natalie did that, blah blah blah. And then when I'm done dictating, I'll just do a Control F and then replace Natalie with the actual name. That's another tip that you can use. So like another one I have a character. Her name is Devora, Devora. So I just say Deborah, and then I just remember at the end of the chapter to go in and Control F and replace everything. That's the best way I have found to do that. Your mileage may vary depending on how crazy your characters' names are. If your characters' names are crazy, then there's probably not a whole lot you can do. You kind of just have to say it and hope for the best. All right. Let's see. Okay, next question is from Stephanie. How do you balance working two projects at once, fiction and nonfiction? Do you split your day in half or focus on one project per day? What I do is I work on one project at a time. So, Stephanie, what I do is I work, like right now, I'm working on a novel. And then when I'm done with that novel, I will work on whatever my next project is. And it's probably going to be a nonfiction book. Actually, it will be a nonfiction book. And then I work on that. And then I work on the next project. I try not as much as possible to divide my focus between fiction and nonfiction. One, I can do it if I needed to do it. It's not that I don't want to do it. I just like to focus my energy on one thing, because then if I focus on one thing, I'll get that done faster. Whereas if I divide my focus, I'm just less likely. I'll be working on two things, and it takes twice as long to get both of them done. So in the beginning, I did try to divide my time. I wouldn't divide it by day, but I would work on fiction for maybe the first half of the week, and then I would work on the nonfiction in the second half. Or whenever I had writer's block with my novel, I would then switch to my writing book or whatever. I'm not saying my way is the right way to do it, but just kind of find the rhythm that works for you. But I find, this is just me, I find that putting all your energy into one project, concentrating on that one project, and then moving on to the next one when you're done will probably serve you better in the long run. Okay, Darren asks a very important question, probably the most important question for this live stream. Why are you wigging out on us during an Author Level Up live stream? I have no idea. And again, I apologize for these issues, folks. The weird thing is I have two internet connections. And I switched internet connections, and it didn't seem to fix anything. So I think this is a YouTube problem. All right. Could you please do weekly power hours? I would pay for that. Well, thank you. I appreciate that suggestion. I would like to do weekly power hours. It's just hard to do on Saturday mornings every Saturday because I have a family. We do stuff. Next weekend, having a birthday party for my daughter, and so it's kind of hard to do a power hour every Saturday. Kind of have to plan my life around it. But I really do like this bi-weekly thing, so I may try to swing this bi-weekly if I can. But I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you showing up for this, especially when we're having technical issues. All right. Okay, so yeah, everyone's starting to hear me now. Yep. Okay. Okay, so Mike, thank you for letting me know. It says video. Okay, thank you. At least I know that's working for you, Mike, so that's good. Rachel T says 636 words in the last round. Finally got to a place where I was, I've been stuck, got past a place where you were stuck. Awesome. Well, good job. Good job. All right. Oh, and then the second one here, I got 234. Okay. Bricks, thank you for suggesting that. I had to completely close the browser and rejoin. So if you're having lags, try that. That may work. I didn't think of that. So thank you for that suggestion. Okay, let's see. Okay, now I'm catching up because I think the lag is gone. Okay. How do you find readers? Should one venture outside family and close friends? The answer to that, Briggs, is absolutely. I don't. I mean, if your family and close friends want to read the book, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But your family and close friends are not. You're not going to build a career off of your family and close friends, right? They'll give you some feedback or tell you what they think. That may or may not be valuable to you, depending on whether they're writers, avid writers, or readers. But how I would find readers is I would just try to figure out what works best for your personality, right? So like I'm not somebody that goes off and hunts for readers. I'm not a marketer. Like I'm not a super savvy marketer. I can do that if I need to, and I know how to turn it on when I need to do that, but that's not my default style. My default style is a very passive marketer. So, like for example, at the very beginning of this live stream, I just let you guys know that I have a story bundle that's available for Nanowrimo, right? Took 2 minutes. I put together this graphic. I slipped it in, mentioned it, and I'm done. All right. And on the homepage of my website, I put the image for the story bundle. And then I know that the homepage is the most visited page on my site. So everybody who goes to my homepage at authorlevelup.com is going to see that. And that helps to market the book, right? So I'm just not somebody that goes off and just buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. But I do it occasionally, all right? I'll do it where it makes sense. And what I tell people is to market in the way that is best for your personality. So if you're an extrovert, like to be around people, like to market stuff, then okay, that works for you. But if you're not, then find ways to market your work passively, right? So one of the things that I do in all of my books is I include links to every book I've ever written, particularly for my writing books, because I know that people enter my writing books from different books. Like I never know which book they're going to pick up first. So if I have all of the books in the back of my back matter, that takes a lot more work. But I know that when you look at my writing portfolio and you see, oh, he's got books on dictation, he's got books on craft, he's got books on blah, 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 then I know that there's going to be maybe something in that list that appeals to everybody. Another way that I do passive marketing is on YouTube. I don't actively promote my writing books, but you guys watch my videos, and if you find my videos helpful, then you find your way to the book that works for you. So there's passive and then there's active. There's a time to be active and there's a time to be passive. Just figure out which one works for you. Very, very long-winded answer to your question. Okay, Lolo. Yeah, thank you. I'm 100% going to try to say another name, then replace it. Yeah, it's not ideal. Like it's better if you can teach Dragon the word and then it just populates the word every time. But like for example, Dragon cannot say my name. Well, Dragon cannot recognize my name. If I say Michael Laron it always puts in some weird last name. It never gets my name right, and I don't know why. I've got another character in this book I'm writing right now. Her name is Cece, and every time I say Cece, Dragon cannot recognize it. I train it and train it and train it, but it will not say her name correctly, and I just don't. I don't know why. All right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So it looks like everything's good now. So thank you everybody for letting me know that the lag is over. And if you wouldn't mind, just send off a nastygram to YouTube. All right. I just want to make sure I answer everyone's questions because I just don't know what was going on here. Brendan asks, do you think I should do the NaNoWriMo challenge to finish my third book? Is that even allowed if you're working on a previous work for the challenge? Yeah, Brendan, there are no rules for NaNoWriMo. Don't let anybody talk you into saying you got to do this or that. NaNoWriMo is a challenge that is meant to stretch you out of your boundaries. It's meant for you and you only. Sure, if you, okay, I'm going to get into a rant for a second. I love NaNoWriMo, but there's some things about NaNoWriMo that I don't like. The first thing I don't like about it, NaNoWriMo, let me back up. I love NaNoWriMo because it gets people writing. That is the most important thing. It gets people writing. It teaches them the importance of consistency and how you can write 1,600 words per day for 30 days and end up with a book at the end of it. I think that's amazing. It also builds community, right? It also encourages people to learn, like through the story bundle that I'm promoting. There are plenty of resources out there to help you with this. And it gives you a boost of confidence. I love that about NaNoWriMo. That's why I participate in a lot of NaNoWriMo stuff. Here's what I don't like about NaNoWriMo, and this has nothing to do with the people who started NaNoWriMo. What I don't like about NaNoWriMo is how people feel like they have to do certain things during the month. For example, they feel like they have to write 50,000 words or they're a failure, right? So you start on day one and you get your words in, and then on day two, you miss your words because something happened in your life and you get 0 words. And then all of a sudden people feel like, oh no, my gosh, I failed. No one ever fails NaNoWriMo. If you start the challenge and you get 30,000 words at the end of the month, you have won. I mean, how many people around the world can get that many words, right? I mean, you're already ahead just by starting the challenge. So, rant over. Hashtag, I'm going to step off my soapbox here. Don't let anybody tell you that there's a certain way you have to do it. However you want to do it. If you want to do book 3 of a series, do book 3 of a series. If you want to pick up your current work in progress that's already halfway done and just see if you can finish it in NaNoWriMo, then do that. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop being a little fiery. But yeah, I just hear people talk about these so-called rules with Nano, and it just irritates me to no end. Do what works for you. All right. Okay, I'll answer a couple more questions, and then we'll get into our final thing since everything's working here. Do you have any advice on dealing with anachronisms? In my fantasy world, there are frequent earthquakes, and I feel weird calling them earthquakes. So I assume when you mean anachronisms, words that have a certain connotation that maybe you want them to have a different. Have any thoughts on that? Immediately, what comes to mind is, I mean, if you don't want to call them earthquakes, then call them something that would be memorable. I don't know if call them tremors or something like that, or like I had a short story once where it was 2 zombie characters. Like the main character was a zombie, and they didn't want to call. I didn't want to call the humans, so the zombies called them warmies, like the bodies are warm. So just come up with something that's memorable, and that'll work, I think. Yes, William says there should be a website for dragon mistakes. I bet that would be hilarious. Yeah, I made one that was kind of fun earlier. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, yeah, that was pretty funny. All right, everybody, I see the rest of your questions, but let's go ahead and jump into our final session. And then I'll come back, and you guys know I will stay on until all your questions are answered, so no worries. But thank you all for your patience with the crappy internet connection thing going on. And I'll put 20 minutes on the timer, and let's get it. 2.5 minute warning, folks. 2.5 minute warning. Okay, everybody. Well, that concludes our sprints for what a very interesting power hour. So thank you for those of you who stuck with me here. Let me know what your word count is for the day. I want to know what your word count is for the day. So I'm sitting at about 1,000 for the day and about 1,500 for the total day. So I did about 1,000 during this power hour. I probably would have had a lot more if I hadn't had the technical issues. So let me know. And in the meantime, I'm going to get to the questions here. Questions. Let's see here. Oh, before we do the questions, I'll let people ask, ask your final questions. I'll stay on until all of them are answered. But I wanted to just remind everybody, just real quick, because we had some new people that came in here, that I'm taking part in a story bundle for Nanowrimo. My book, Be a Writing Machine, is part of it, and it's part of a lot of other books with New York Times and USA Today bestsellers. You can pay what you want to get 16 books and help you win Nanowrimo should you dare to do it this year. And you can get it at authorlevelup.com/story bundle. And I did want to let everybody know, I said I was going to pop up a picture of it. My book is now, I have a new book. It is now available on Amazon. All right. So Writing into the Dark, Pantsing, Discovery Writing, whatever you want to call it. But it's called The Pocket Guide to Pantsing. And you can find it on Amazon. I think it's on Kobo. It's probably on Google Play. Apple, it always takes a few days to get on here. But I just wanted to show you all the link. And I'll have a page on my website here pretty soon once I get all the links populated. So I just wanted to let you know this is available. I wanted this book to be the comprehensive guide to writing a book without an outline. All right. So if you've never done that, I'm going to hold your hand, and I'm probably going to go into way more nitty gritty detail than you ever thought somebody would go into in writing without an outline. So if you like my nitty grittiness of my books, you're going to be right at home here. All right. So just wanted to let you all know that this is available. You all are the first to know, other than my patrons. All right. Okay, let's get to the questions here. Okay. Oh, I see some great progress here. Rachel 1446 during this power hour. Great job. Great job. That's a great way to set yourself up for the rest of the day. Brendan, 1,000 words. All right, that's pretty good for a first power hour. Nice job. All right, and says, had a lot of dialogue that came up and slowed me down. Also had to find a character name, which I haven't dealt with for a while. Yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen. But the law of averages should work out in your favor, because once you got that fixed, then it's just a matter of doing the next things here. All right. And Becky, for first power hour, 532, had to stop to take care of granddaughter. That's okay. You know, life happens and it's all good. That's 532 words you didn't have when you started the day. And so that's a beautiful thing. All right, Louisa, 542 words and a total of 1,000. Nice job. Been through your cutscenes and restructured the story. Very, very good job, everybody. All right. Darren says 600 total, 626 total for the stream. Got distracted on the last round. Yeah, I got distracted on the second round, so it's all good. Okay, so questions that came in here was Darren says, my big thing is to say that the only way to lose or even fail NaNoWriMo is to quit. That is absolutely true. And the only way to lose or, fail in your writing career is to quit. All right. It's okay to stop writing for a time, but you're always a writer as long as you're writing. All right. So that's an important thing here. Let's see. Oh, okay. Leia, thank you for mentioning that. I see. Okay. You're able to see the new Pantsing book on Amazon. Perfect. And I'll announce it. I'll probably do like an official announcement on the channel. I don't do that very often. Do dedicated videos to like book launches on my channel. But this one is so like highly asked about that I'm probably going to do that. So let's see. Next one here. Amit asks, do you mentor? Amit, I would love to do that. I just don't have the time right now. That's kind of why I do these power hours, to try to answer people's questions and try to provide some assistance that way. It's also why I write a lot of writing books, so that I can try to help people along in that regard. I am hoping that at some point in the future, I will be able to offer some sort of a mentoring service or mentor some folks. I don't know what that would look like, though. Okay. Someone asked about dictating. And Darren jumped in and went to bat for me. Says he's currently not talking to us, but to an inanimate object, which makes us question his sanity. It's very true. I'm staring at. So when I'm doing this, I'm staring at my computer screen. But typically, when I dictate, I'm walking around or staring at something. So, sometimes I question my own sanity. All right. Scott, just wanted to drop a message to say how much I loved the Pantsing book. It's like Riding into the Dark 2.0. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. First official testimonial of the book here. Means that it wasn't full of gibberish. So thank you for reading it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, go pick it up. All right. Okay, so Focus Creative says, I'm struggling with pacing. Shrink that a little bit. Any advice on how to know how much detail to include to make sure my pacing is good? And is there anything you struggled with more than others in developing your stories? It's a very good question. It's a very deep question. It doesn't seem like it's a deep question, but it is. Pacing is all about how the text looks on the page. So like a fast pacing, like right now I'm writing a fight scene. The pacing is very fast. So I'm hitting the return key a lot. So I'm having shorter sentences, shorter paragraphs, and while I have some narrative and I'm getting inside my character's head just a little bit, I'm doing it a little bit less than what I would do it if it wasn't a fight scene. If it's a longer scene or the pacing is slower or more medium pace, then I'll spend more time in my character's head and have the character remark on things. I'm writing in the first person POV, so my main character he talks to the reader a lot. It's one of the things that I think helps characterize him. He talks to the reader a lot, but when I'm in a fight scene, he doesn't do that as much. All right, so that could be a tip for you. The second part of your question, Is there anything you struggled with more than others in developing your stories? Um, in the beginning, I think I struggled. I struggled a lot with plotting in the beginning, not because I didn't understand it, but because when I first started plotting, the method that I used, or I should say, the method that resonated with me the most was the plot point theory. It's by Sid Field, if you've ever heard of him. Sid SYD Field. He wrote a book called Screenplay, and in that book, he talks about the different plot points that many stories have. And if you look at many modern movies, particularly if you look at any Pixar film, they follow Sid Field's plot points like clockwork. And so there was a gentleman by the name of Larry Brooks who wrote a book called Story Engineering, and he adapted that for fiction writing. And that method always resonated with me. I found that my stories, even when I wasn't thinking about it, I was always hitting those plot points. Well, the problem with the plot point theory is that it just helps you with plot. It doesn't help you with character. So I found that when I long time ago, when I was outlining my stories, I was using the plot point theory, and I would map out all the plot points that I wanted to happen in the story, and I would hit those plot points, but I would hit them so fast that I wasn't taking the time to develop my characters. And so I kind of had to learn how to fill in the space between those plot points, so to speak. And that took me a long time. It took me a long time before I figured that out. But that was definitely something I struggled with. Now, how did I figure that out? Because that's probably the next question that people are going to ask. I figured it out by reading the works of mega bestsellers and taking courses from successful writers. So Dean Wesley Smith, took some courses with him, really studied the mega bestsellers to see how they did things. How did they open their novels? How did they write their dialogue? How did they develop their characters? Because if they're doing it and they're selling millions of books, they're doing something right. And so I just became a student of the top 1%, and that helped me learn a lot. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so we had some more questions come in here. Okay, so the next one is, do you prescribe to the philosophy of always using the subject before said and dialogue tags? Do you ever use other dialogue tags or ordering? That's a really good question. Um, it depends. It depends. I think the number one thing with dialogue that I'm always trying to remind myself of is that it needs to be clear who is speaking, right? So, like a big no-no for me, and this is just for me personally, is I never have more than one character speak in the same paragraph. I always hit the return key every time another character speaks. That sounds so like obvious, but a lot of people don't always follow that. But I follow that for myself. Sometimes, so for example, if I've got two characters who are talking to each other, usually I'll do open quote dialogue close or comma close quote he said or Lester said, new line open quote blah 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 CC said. All right, but at some point that just gets really repetitive, and you don't need to constantly do that. And so what I try to do is I make the voices distinctive enough to where the reader knows who's speaking. My kind of general rule of thumb is if I go more than two lines without saying who's speaking, I try to introduce a tag. But it just kind of depends on the chapter. If you've got more than two characters in a chapter, I don't see any way around having to put their names in there. I mean that you almost have to have you almost have to have a he said she said if you've got multiple characters. And like this novel I'm writing now, um, I don't know what it is about my Good Necromancer series. I have a lot of characters in scenes. Like it's a lot of characters doing stuff at the same time. So I have to be careful that the reader always knows what's going on. But clarity, I think, is your number one focus. And as long as it's clear to the reader, I don't think there's any right or wrong way. As far as said, you're saying, do you ever use dialogue tags other than said? Usually, no. I usually use said nine times out of 10. Occasionally, I'll use shouted or I'll use cried. But other than that, I don't use any other type of dialogues tag. And the reason for that is because the readers never see it anyway. It's invisible. Okay, let's see. Next question. What do you think of trying to get a literary agent or publisher for my three novels? Um, I used your lead on Upwork for beta readers and have gotten some incredible feedback from them. That's great. I'm glad. I'm glad that Upwork worked really well for you. That works brilliantly for me. Now, to the first part of your question, Michael Laron's opinion and Michael Laron's opinion only. I just, I just, I just don't. I'm not going to personally pursue a literary agent. I would rather keep the copyrights to my work. I would rather do what I want to do with the work. I just want nothing to do with that side of the house. Um, they would have to throw a lot of money at me, and they'd have to give me a really lucrative contract for me to ever consider a deal in traditional publishing. And frankly, that's just not going to happen. Um, the contracts, I went to law school. I understand contracts on a deeper level than probably average people. Um, and if you actually read a traditional publishing contract and you understand the terms, you would be horrified. And it's like learning how a hot dog gets made. If you learn how a hot dog gets made, you'll never eat one again. It's kind of like that with some of these contracts out there, and it's just my opinion. Some other people, it might be a good thing for them, but I am I'm pro keeping the rights to my work. I'm pro making money too. I'm pro negotiation. I mean, certainly if you're going to negotiate a contract, both parties have to give up something. But most traditional publishing contracts have very, very bad clauses in them that can hamstring your career. And I want to be doing this for a very long time. I want to be writing until I die. I don't want to sign a contract that's going to restrict how many books I can write in a year. Um, and other things like that. So again, I'm very pro self-publishing. I did a video on self-publishing versus traditional publishing. You might want to check that out. I try to be as balanced as possible, but you all know where my sympathies lie. All right. Wylan, what's your philosophy on villains? I absolutely love your villains and how you write them. Florian. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Florian and Atticus in particular have me wanting more. Okay. Well, thank you, Wylan. I have two philosophies with villains. My first philosophy is that a villain, it depends on the book, right? I mean, there's some books where your villain is really just going to be a villain. Like you really can't characterize them very much. And they're just evil, and they're evil, and that's all there is to it, And you do what you can to make them look evil, make the readers not like this character, and then make the hero prevail at the end. Right? That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to have a sympathetic villain. And I've tried to have some sympathetic villains. So like one of the examples, Florian, he's the villain in my Galaxy Mavericks series. And he's kind of a unique character. He's kind of got some trauma in his past, and some things have happened to him that he's just trying. He's a complicated mess. But at the end, he's sympathetic. I think people can relate to him. At least I hope that they do. And so there are sometimes those villains where you do that. I never know whether a villain in my story is going to be sympathetic or just kind of flat until I start writing it. But my philosophy is, if I'm going to do a flat villain, I try to make him as bad as possible. I mean, short of kicking a puppy or kicking over a trash can in chapter 5. I mean, I try to make him do stuff that, readers are going to be like, man, that guy's bad, or that girl's bad. You got to do something about him. I can't wait to see them meet their grisly demise. But when I'm doing a sympathetic villain, I usually will try to I will usually make the villain a point of view character. So like in my Chicago Rat Shifter series, I have in the first book, there's a villain. His name is Atticus Thurston. He's an evil doctor, evil biologist, and I spend a lot of time in his head. He's actually one of the point of view characters of the story. There's my main character, and then there's Atticus, right? So you kind of get dueling point of views on how things happen. And the easiest way to characterize a villain, if you want to make them sympathetic, is put the reader in the villain's head. There's no easier shortcut than to do that. But it depends on your story. But I appreciate the question and taking me back to memory lane. All right. Oh, well, hey, Brendan, thank you so much. I appreciate the super sticker. Pair character bowing down, saying thank you. Well, thank you to the pair character. I appreciate that very much. All right. Yeah, Brendan was talking about Sid Field's screenplay. Yeah, great book on screenplay writing. My first screenplay book I ever bought. Fantastic book. Even if you're a pantser, I would recommend reading that book because it helped connect things for me in a way I don't think I was able to make those connections before. All right. Let's see. Other one. Okay. Brendan, looking into Fiverr for a book cover. Just be careful. Be careful with book covers on Fiverr. I like Fiverr a lot. I do a lot of stuff on Fiverr. All of my writing books, for example, I actually get those covers on Fiverr. There's someone there that I trust. Outside of that, and the reason I trust this guy is because he doesn't actually. It's a long story. It's a long story. I basically pick the image I want, and he puts it together and makes it look good. So I know that there's no copyright infringement. You have to be careful with Fiverr because sometimes and I've seen this. I've seen people advertise covers on Fiverr that they did not create, and that's not a dig on Fiverr. I don't know what Fiverr could do to police that, but that's why I would. I don't know. I don't know about Fiverr for book covers personally. Great service. I use it almost every week, but I don't use it primarily for book covers. You may want to look elsewhere. Okay. Yeah, Zubul. Yeah, no problem. Said thank you for answering my questions and helping me feel confident in my dialogue tagging. Yeah, just remember, dialogue is invisible. The tags are invisible. No one ever sees them. So as long as you're not doing the Tom Swifty stuff, he said exuberantly, he said deliciously. Readers won't notice. Okay. Christina. Hello, Christina. On trad versus indie publishing again, what is your opinion of a hybrid career? I think there's nothing wrong with a hybrid career. I think if you look at the careers of very many successful long-term published authors right now, many of them are hybrid authors. The reason they're hybrid authors, though, is because they signed contracts with traditional publishing before self-publishing as we know it today was a viable option. And I think if you would talk to them over a beer or behind closed doors, I think what many of them would tell you is that they're trying to get the rights to their books back because they either didn't approve of how traditional publishing handled it. Maybe they got there was some embezzlement going on. They weren't getting paid the royalties they wanted to get paid. Maybe the book was out of print for a long time. In fact, I actually just had a correspondence with a long-term traditional published author who got the rights back to one of their books after a long fight. So I think what they would tell you is that they learned a lot from that side of the house when it was the only game in town. But now, if they could do it again, I think a lot of them would just stick to self-publishing. That said, if you do want that hybrid career, if you really do want that, then you have to learn copyright. It's not negotiable. You have to learn copyright. You have to learn how to negotiate. You have to learn contracts, and you have to understand the different types of contract clauses that can hamstring your goals. So, like for me, I want to be a long-term author. Like I was doing a blog post yesterday, and I'm going to do, I think, 15 books this year. If I do 15 books every year between now and the time I turn 75, let's just say, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. All right. I will have written more books than Barbara Cartland. And if you know Barbara Cartland, she's one of the most prolific authors in the English language. When she died at the ripe old age of 99, she had written 723 books. I will be well above that by the time I die. If I do this by the time I turn 75, right? Why would I sign a contract with a publisher or anybody that would say, I can only publish one book per year, or I can't publish any book that competes with anything the publisher has done? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? So like my long-term goals, I'm not going to sign any do not compete clause. So you have to figure out what your long-term goals are. And if it fits some way into your long-term goals, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it. Just be prepared for some trade-offs, and you may not like the long-term consequences. All right. Hey, William, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So thank you for all you do to help the author community. Thank you so much. Can't tell you how much I appreciate that. All right. Thank you guys for the super chats. That means a lot. All right. Oh, okay. CJ Preach. 9 days of seclusion and writing, October 16th through 24th. Is this like a writing event, or are you just self-imposing these 9 days? Please let me know. It's a very good idea. Okay, Christina. Okay. To follow up on the trad versus indie question, as an aspiring dark romance writer, trad just won't touch my story, so I have to go the indie route. But I also fear not having enough money to indie publish. Yeah, that's legitimate. But let me put it this way, Christina. Um, Traditional publishing is no money down, but you damn near lose your copyright. So it won't cost you a whole lot to traditional publish. They'll take care of the cover. They'll take care of, the editing, so you don't have to pay for any of that stuff. But if you don't earn your advance back, then you're never going to make any money on the life of the book. So it's cheaper, but it's actually more expensive in the long run when you do the math. And I absolutely agree that there's just some genres that traditional publishers won't touch, and ironically, those genres end up being awesome. Look at lit RPG, for example. Traditional publishers wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, and now it's huge, and that indies are making a living off of that genre. So again, I'm not knocking traditional publishers, but like I said, I just understand the legal component of it, and I think if more authors understood that, then they would be a lot more cautious. All right, but yeah, the money thing is legit. That is legit. And when I first started publishing, I did not have very much money at all. In fact, my first book cover, I paid $40 for it. I did a pre-made book cover, and it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. And I think I paid for a copy editor and a proofreader. But yeah, after that, I was about broke. So there's some things you can do. I mean, certainly look into pre-made covers. Look into finding a cheaper editor. Editors, you can find them at all levels of the spectrum. But yeah, it's legitimate, and until you publish your first few books, it will be difficult to do that. And so that's why if you've got a spouse or significant other, kind of getting on the same page about how much the writing costs and how much you expect to spend, and trying to cut your costs as much as you can in the beginning, I think is important. But yeah, definitely understand. Okay. Darren says, I buy pre-mades on self-published book covers. Feel free to throw a link in there. Absolutely. If it's a service that you use and we recommend, and they're not scamming people, I'm not opposed to links at all. So please put a link in there. It'll just help people. Okay, let's see. How do you get the name recognition to self-publish? What is the best way to market books when no one knows about the books? The best way, honestly, is just to do it. When I did these writing power hours, I mean, I don't know when the first one was, but I don't know how many people were on it. I was prepared. Like when you go live, it's kind of like are people going to tune in and watch this, or am I just going to be, talking to myself? I was prepared to talk to myself, and honestly, I'll still do it. And when I published my first books, I was basically publishing them into a void. Like I didn't have any readers. There wasn't anyone who was interested. And you have to be prepared to do that. And then at some point you'll start to get people who are interested, but you have to be willing to just put stuff out there. Like that's the first step. When I started podcasting, I literally turned on my microphone and talked to the wall. And I did that for like 2 or 3 months before anyone even listened to my show. And that's intimidating. But the truth, though, is that allows you to make a lot of mistakes when no one's looking. So maybe there's a plotting issue that you got to figure out with your books. Well, if no one's buying that first book anyway, then it's okay. So I don't have a problem with that, but it is a little daunting. And the best way to market those books, I would say, if I were just starting off now and I had no platform or anything, what I would do is I would invest in ads. So like Amazon ads, I would learn those because that's a great way to market your work passively. And I make a lot of money on Amazon ads, and that works out really well for me. Facebook ads could be something that you could explore. I mean, basically, you have to get people to know that you exist. And it's really not even about you, it's about your book. And you have to convince them that your book is something that they need. And for nonfiction, that's a lot easier because you can lead with how you're going to solve someone's problem. Like with my pantsing book, a lot of you have the problem of not knowing what to do when you're riding into the dark. So I wrote a book on that. With fiction, it's a lot tougher because you've got to put the right signals on the book. You've got to make sure it looks appropriate for the genre. You've got to make sure it's of a high quality. But you just have to keep doing it. Just keep publishing, and you'll find your way along the way. But yeah. Okay. Let's see. Zooble Zoo, do you think someone can be successful self-publishing if they only write one book per year? Absolutely. I mean, you can absolutely be successful doing one book a year. I think the key is just to set expectations. So for the readers that you do have, let them know, hey, I've got a book coming out this time next year. I tend to be a slow writer, so join my mailing list and I'll keep you updated. And then here's what I would do. I would email your audience at least every month or every 60 days or every 90 days and let them know what's going on with you. Let them know how the book is progressing. Share a scene from the book. Share some stories from your personal life. The key is just to keep everything warm. That's why like my YouTube channel works really well for me, is because it's like a constant marketing engine. I don't have to release a book every month because I have videos that are coming out that help. And then when I do have a book, I can just let people know about it. And it's the same thing with my fiction lists. I've kind of neglected my fiction lists lately, but if you're only writing one book per year, your list becomes, I think, way more important. And if there's anything you can do to find ways to get in front of your audience, whether it be through TikTok or whatever, I think that will help you and help kind of mitigate the fact that you're only doing one book per year. One book per year adds up really quickly. That means in 10 years, you'll have 10 books. And in 10 years, you'll have 10 books, and in 20 years, you'll have 20 books. And, that makes you pretty prolific. All right, let's see. Lots of questions. Okay, so Darren says, writing into the dark is easy. Shine a flashlight and write what you see. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Okay, Christina asks, is there a link to the pantsing book? Not yet, Christina, because I just published it. But you can find it on Amazon by searching for it. Oh, sharing the wrong thing there. You can find it on Amazon by searching for it. And then I'll make an official announcement here soon. I just wanted to make sure that everybody here knew that I had it because you all are always asking about it. All right. So this is the book. It's on Amazon. I think it's on Kobo as well. And like I said, I'll make an official announcement video on the channel once all the links are populated. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions, everybody. So I just want to say, first off, thank you for those who did the super chats. Super greatly appreciated. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for joining, and I appreciate you weathering the technical issues. The next Power Hour, I'll get the date on it here before we jump. The next Power Hour is going to be Saturday, October 16th, and that'll be kind of the final Power Hour of the Beast Mode stuff here. All right, so final Power Hour of Beast Mode. Then we're going to go back to once a month. All right, and then once we get to November and December, things will get a little bit dicey because of the holidays and such. But I'll be sure to communicate that to everybody ahead of time. All right, so thank you all for joining. Hope you got a lot of words in, and have a wonderful weekend. Take care.